Welcome to the Planet MicroCap Showcase Vancouver. I'm your host, Robert Kraft, and thank you all for joining us today. I'd like to introduce our next virtual presentation for the Planet MicroCap Showcase Vancouver. It will be from Dave Harper. He's the president and CEO of Geodrill. It's a publicly traded company. I got two symbols for you, GEO on the TSX and GEODF on the OTCQX. And with that, Dave, take it away.
Thank you, Robert. It's great to be here and presenting to you. Okay, so by way of introduction, Geodrill is a mineral exploration driller with a prominent market position in Africa and a growing presence in South America. Essentially, we provide drilling rigs and expertise that produce geological samples. Our customers are exploration, intermediate, and senior mining companies. So a brief history. I founded Geodrill 25 years ago with one rig and one contract. We quickly went about establishing ourselves as a formidable drilling outfit. It was a very different market back then. The big corporate drillers were sending their old worn-out drills to Africa. I looked at things a little differently. I thought to myself, well, if this is going to be my primary market, then let me send a modern high-performance drills. So since the get-go, it's been, our mission statement has been one of quality and quantity, and also listening and responding to our customers' needs. It was a very simple message, and it's evidently proven to be a very successful one. So I thought it might be useful to just give a quick overview of the mineral drilling business. So folks often ask, is mining is mineral drilling similar to oil drilling? Well, the short answer to that question is no, it's not. The drilling industry for mining companies is very different than oil and gas companies. Mining operators typically have mines that have useful lives, which are measured in decades. And miners drill for the purpose of adding new reserves and to replace the depletion of those reserves. So Geodrill actually plays in all cycles of mine life and has many relationships that have stretched over decades. Now, whilst the mining industry goes through boom-bust cycles, depending on commodity prices, the drilling industry is much less susceptible to the highs and the lows. And this is due to the need to always replace resources as they're depleted as mining progresses. So to be a successful mineral driller basically means many years of drilling, multiple rig operations, which result in recurring and sustainable revenues. And that's what's important here for the investor. So now that you understand our business, please note that we're not the only mineral driller out there. But we are the mineral driller with probably the best financial metrics. And that's because we do things a little differently. We have a simple strategy, a simple tagline, if you like, an adage. It's basically keep them turning, keep them earning. Now, we have designed our business to ensure that our rigs are consistently working to generate revenues. Now, this may sound very simple. But in practice, it's not quite that simple. Key to generating our revenues is the quality of our rig fleet and our high-performance rigs and the ability to keep them maintained. So the slide that you're looking at here, is our operations base, which is located near Kumasi in Ghana. This is the beachhead of our African hub of operations in Africa, and it's the largest support facility of a drilling company in the world today. That's a very large statement, I know, and it's actually quite factual. The facility incorporates a world-class workshop with training center. It also has inventory of $30 million, and just to keep our critical spares and consumables up to the drilling rigs in the field. Also espoused in this facility is a CNC engineering facility, which enables us to make our own drilling rods, our own drilling bits. We can even make our own drilling rigs. So this is basically the hub of our operation. Now, the network then includes spoke operations. These are operations for outlier markets where anything is 12 hours away further from the main base. We would operate a smaller facility than this one here, and we call these the spokes. And the spokes operate for us in the Cote d'Ivoire market, in Mali, and in Cairo. Well, in Egypt anyway, one of our big operating bases over there, and in South America. So it's a hub and spoke approach. Now, this conscious decision to invest in this vertically integrated model is really an investment, as we see it, in our future, because it delivers us the mechanical advantage over our competitors, and it results in less downtime in the field, which is so important for our customers, which is particularly important at a time when the whole world seems to be running out of something. We are not the biggest driller out there, but we certainly have one of the strongest balance sheets. At Q2 2020, we had working capital of $57.6 million, shareholder equity. I'm talking US dollars here, $114 million US dollars. Our hard book value, our net tangible book value, is $2.38 US per share, which equates to $3.22 Canadian per share. Value investors will certainly appreciate this, because the book is the stock is currently trading under its book value. Debt, we have debt. We have $11 odd million in debt, but we have significantly more cash than that. We have $17.7 million in cash in USD. So we're net cash $6.4 million at the end of the last quarter. Debt to equity, something we keep a close eye on, 11%, currently about the lowest in the industry, I believe. And debt to EBITDA on a 12 months trailing basis, approximately 34%. Our return on equity at Q2 was 13%. Our return on capital employed was 20%. Currently, our rig count, we have 77 rigs in the fleet, and this figure is growing. And in 2021, Geodrill initiated its maiden dividend, celebrating 10 years of being a public company. So we celebrated the first year with a 2-cent dividend, and we backed this up the following year with a 6-cent dividend. And this year we paid 4 cents in the first half of the year, and we're on track to pay 8 cents in the back half of the year. This currently would put us at about a 2.75 to 3% yield, and our investors seem to be pretty happy with that. Financials, I mentioned that Geodrill has the best, or in the leading financial metrics in the industry. This slide here illustrates 5 years track record of growing EBITDA and free cash flow. And this has enabled us to reinvest by increasing our rig fleet, which in turn increases our revenue, and so it goes. We have continually invested in ourselves since day one with all of our free cash. Now, this plan of reinvesting cannot be overstated. Our 5-year CAGR growth rate numbers are rig count 3%, revenue 9% CAGR, but meanwhile our EBITDA has grown at 19% CAGR. So, and I should point out that's 100% organic growth. We haven't done any M&A, any acquisitions. This is basically all cash generated from operations from what was once a one rig and one contract outfit. Where we operate, so Geodrill operates in key markets in Africa and South America. Exploration by its very nature means putting one's backside in a vehicle and venturing down some potholed track to parts unknown. The opportunity that I saw at inception was that West Africa, our key market, had missed 50 years of modern exploration. Now, Geodrill operates in these markets quite simply because that's where the drilling is. Now, regarding perceived risk of operating in these markets, well, you might ask one of the miners, our customers, why they're there, and I'm sure they'll tell you it's because that's where the gold is. So if you think about it agnostically, Geodrill is a cash-generating business with no debt, strong balance sheet, and with a sustainable and profitable business model, delivering steady double-digit growth since 2016. Fortune favours the brave, and I think there's been some pretty good examples of that over the years. What do we drill for? We drill mainly for gold. We also drill for base metals, and for more recently we drill for EV battery metals. And all of these things that we drill for are basically doing very well at the moment. Now, currently, all miners are citing the need to shore up depleting reserves. And so some are calling this potentially the beginning of what could be a super cycle. It certainly does appear to be we're in the stages of something. Gold reserves are down 42% from the peak of 2011, and to make new discoveries takes many years. Recent central bank gold buying has caused gold to spike to $1,900. And according to Bloomberg, according to their latest data, central banks in the last 2 quarters of 2022 were net buyers to the rate of 3 times the normal. So it's certainly very busy out there. Financials, our business is very strong. Our balance sheet is solid. We have strong revenue growth expected in 2024 and beyond. And that'll be driven largely by very strong utilisation of our fleet. Year to date, our net income is $8.1 million, which equates to 17 cents USD. And as I mentioned before, we're currently paying about a 3% yield. We're currently preparing, repositioning drilling rigs from certain markets into other markets, and preparing for the next phase of growth, as we see it. And as I said, the repositioning of our rig fleet from certain markets into other markets that we're currently doing at the moment is going to result in some pretty significant growth in the coming years. So that's pretty much it in summary. Why own Geodrill? Well, Geodrill is an established high-quality mineral driller with a dominant market leader position in Africa and a growing position in South America. Drillers are a great way to invest in mining because drillers are essential to the mining and the exploration companies, yet we offer indirect exposure to metal prices and price up cycles, while also minimising the operational and jurisdictional risks. Now, Geodrill is a cash-generating business with no debt, a strong balance sheet, and a portfolio of long-term contracts which will provide stable, recurring revenues that will act as the flywheel in our engine room, which continues to deliver double-digit growth for our shareholders. And that's it, pretty much. Geodrill, a great business in the right geographies with great prospects for growth. Check us out. OTCQX, GEODF, and GEO.T on the Toronto stock market. Thank you.
All right, Dave, very good. Thank you so much for your presentation here today. If you got a couple minutes, do you mind if I ask a few questions to follow up from your presentation?
Sure.
All right. So first question I have for you, you mentioned that, some of the growth is going to come from geographical diversification and expansion. So I'm curious, from your perspective, how do you determine which new regions you want to enter now and start expanding?
So we put our rigs where the work is, and currently we're experiencing very large demand in some of our newer markets. We're particularly excited about Egypt, which is going very well for us. We only entered that market 2 years ago, and in the last financial year, 2022, the most recent financial year, where we actually got the chance to see what impact it made on our total group revenue, it was actually spoke for, I think, 10 or 11%. This is very significant in the first year of any new market. So we really, really like Egypt at the moment. We're also currently experiencing a very large demand out of South America. Now, South America has been a tough market for us. We moved into Peru just in time for a political, change of government, and the new government, it seems, was not pro-mining, and so we sat there sort of wondering whether we'd made the right decision for a little while, and then it just suddenly took off again. And as we speak, the South American market for us is currently the order book. The other side of September will put us at north of 100% utilization. Like all of the entire fleet, we won't have a spare rig down there between the two countries that we operate in, which is Chile and Peru. Now in Peru, we've just actually landed a significant contract with a tier 1 miner, and we're very happy about that because if we look at the history of Geodrill, we have had a history of securing new business and then keeping that business. We don't tend to lose a lot of customers. In fact, in 25 years of being, this is our 25th year of being in business. 12 of those years have been public. We have never actually lost a customer. We've lost bids for sure, but I can't actually think of any customer that has never actually invited us back to drill. So whenever we secure a new customer, and particularly a tier 1 miner, that's always something to get very excited about. So we're really pleased about the prospects at the moment in South America. We're also just expanded into another new market in West Africa, and this is to replace an exiting market. We're leaving a country called Burkina Faso because we've been there for some time and it's gone well for us, but we just think that there's better opportunities elsewhere. So we've wound down that operation. We're now expanding into Senegal on the coattails of one of our customers, a big customer. So we go where our customers ask us to go, basically.
Got it. I mean, based on the logos that you had up there, you're working with, the top tier one mining companies, right? And so when you think about expansion, is it also easier from a business perspective? Like, okay, well, it makes more sense for us to expand on the same continent than it is to actually now take the rigs, go to a whole new, because I mean, these are companies that have operations in, Canada, right? Australia in some respects, right? So I'd love to hear from your perspective why if Canada is on the radar at some point, Australia and some of these other places that maybe most mining investors like, oh, like that's Canada, Australia, all those places.
So we go way back to the beginning. Let's go back to the gold rush days of the 1850s. It was all North America at the time.
Yep.
And so those markets have experienced many booms and been explored so many times over, to the extent that the discoveries there are now becoming fewer and further apart. The big miners that have built their century-old business, decade-old businesses, are now themselves having to look further afield. And if we look at what happened in West Africa, the opportunity that I saw 25 years ago when I started Geodrill was that the area had been completely overlooked. It missed 50 years of modern exploration. West Africa, part of it, one of the biggest parts of it, Ghana, was actually known as, before it was called Ghana, it was called the Gold Coast. It's called the Gold Coast for a reason. There's a lot of gold there. Now, as the African countries took independence, and independence worked okay, but state-owned gold mining and years and years of governments that come and go and one thing or another, mining went into a major decline. And so that was why there was this huge push of Western mining companies into Africa around the early 90s, when there was relatively little drilling. And I arrived in the middle of all of this. And so I have a bit of a first mover kind of advantage, I guess. I know the industry and I know the market very, very well. But what's interesting is what's transpired, what's evolved in 25 years as a result of all that exploration that's been going on over in West Africa. of which we've been a big part of, West Africa has now become the largest producer of gold in the world. Everyone thinks that China is the largest producer in the world, or Australia, or North America. Well, if you picked any one of those three names, you'd be in more or less the same zip code. They all produce about 330 metric ton a year. But if you do the math on how much gold is coming out of the six producing nations of the West African countries, it's actually 452 metric ton. So there's 50% more gold is coming out of West Africa than the largest producer in the world, China. And yet, if you condense that area of those six countries that I mentioned, what does it mean geographically? How big is that footprint? It would fit into China twice. So I don't think we can overlook the opportunity. And as I was saying, if you think the geopolitical risk is a problem, well, gee whiz, the biggest miners in the world are out here. You saw the names of our customers on our customer slide. These are the biggest, well, certainly the largest and the second largest and the third largest gold miners in the world are our customers. So we just tend to go where our customers want us to go. And in terms of risk, well, when we take a decision that we want to leave a country, well, guess what? We just pack up our rigs and we move them somewhere else. We're not bolted to the ground. You see, so there's perceived risk versus the reward. I think there's a pretty good ratio there.
Absolutely. All right. Final question for you. You've talked about, what folks can look forward to from what you could tell us, publicly traded company, of course. Is there anything else that you want folks to hone in on, pay attention to coming out of Geodrill for the rest of 2023, now going into 2024 to close out here?
No, I think I'll just reiterate a point that I made during my presentation, and that was that our growth as we enter 2024, from what we're preparing at the moment, is like we're preparing it's like preparing the launch pad for our next cycle of growth. If you look at us, we tend to grow in steps. Now, we spent a good deal of if I look back 5-6 years, we were sort of floating around in the 80 million revenue sort of zip code. Then we made a quick step up to 115, and then the year later we did 138. This current year that we are in right now will be a consolidation year. It will be a year where we flat. Okay, but there's good reason for that, and to understand that completely, and I think you're just going to have to be patient and see how things play out over the next couple of years. But we're looking for a pretty solid 2024 and beyond.
Very good. All right. Well, Dave, thank you so much for joining us today. Really do appreciate it. Good luck. Stay safe. And I look forward to our next update.
Excellent. Thanks, Robert. Cheers.